How do we find expected value and variance of gains? Let us have this problem. Angelo rolls a standard die numbered 1 to 6 and is to receive 10 pesos for an even number and is to pay 5 pesos for an odd number. Find the expected value and variance of his gains. Let us understand this problem. This problem is still involving discrete probability distribution. In other words, for us to be able to solve this, we need to construct a probability distribution table. And in a probability distribution table, we need the possible values of our random variable and its corresponding probabilities. First, let us understand what the problem is asking for. The expected value, this is the mean of our probability distribution table. And then we have to calculate for the variance. Now, Angelo is to roll a die. And the die is standard, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he will be given 10 pesos if the number that comes out is uneven, and he will be paying 5 pesos if it is odd. In other words, if 1 comes out, since 1 is an odd, he will be paying 5 pesos. And we express paying 5 pesos by negative 5. Next, if 2 comes out, since 2 is an even number, then he will be given 10 pesos, that is positive 10. And if 3 comes out, since it is odd, he will be paying 5 pesos. And if 4 comes out, and 4 is even, he will be given 10 pesos. If 5, he will be paying 5 pesos. And if 6, he will be receiving 10 pesos. What we have done here is we have listed all possible values or possible outcomes of our experiment. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is the total space, the sample space in our probability experiment. Now, since we need to determine the possible values of our random variable, in other words here, the possible values of our random variable are not now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Instead, if 1 comes out, you will list negative 5. But if 2 comes out, you will list 10. If 3 comes out, you will list negative 5. In other words, if the odd numbers now are being replaced with negative 5, and then the even numbers are being replaced with 10. Thus, we now have the possible values of our random variable, which are negative 5 and 10. Next is, we need to determine the probability of each possible value. What is the probability that he will be paying 5 pesos? When will it occur? It will occur when 1 happens or 1 comes out, 3 comes out, and 5 comes out. That is now the probability that of the possible value negative 5 is how many probable outcome? 1, 2, 3. Thus, we have 3 over the sample space, which is 6. That is 3 over 6, which is 1/2 in fraction. In simplest form, rather. Next, how about 10? What is the probability that he will receive 10 pesos? That is, if 2 comes out, if 4 comes out, if 6 comes out. Thus, we have also 1/2. This is now our probability distribution table. Now that we have the probability distribution table, we can now calculate for the expected value, which is the mean and the variance. Next, let us proceed. Now I have listed or rewritten the probability distribution table in columns. We have x here, the possible values of our random variable, which are 10 and negative 5, and the corresponding probabilities, which are 1/2 and 1/2. And let us proceed to calculating for the mean and variance. Just like in our previous examples of calculating for the mean, variance, and standard deviation, we have these three columns. The first one, we need to determine the product of the possible value and its corresponding probability. That is 10 times 1/2 is 5. And negative 5 times 1/2 is negative 2.5. Next is, we need to determine the square of the possible value. That is 10 squared is 100, while negative 5 squared is 25. And in this last column, we find the product of the square of the possible value and its corresponding probability. That is 100 times 1/2 is 50, and 25 times 1/2 is 12.5 or 12.50. Now we have the numerical data needed for us to be able to solve for the mean. Again, the mean is the summation of the products of the possible value and its corresponding probability. That is, we have to add 5 and negative 2.5, which is 2.5. Thus, we now have the mean of this is now the expected value of Angela's gains. Next is the variance of Angela's gains. We denote the variance as the difference between the summation of this column and the square of the mean. Thus, we need to add these, the values in this column. We have 50 plus 12.5 is 62.5 minus the square of the mean, and our mean here is 2.5. 2.5 squared. Okay, and we have 62.5 minus 2.5 squared is 6.25. Thus, we have the excuse me, the value of our variance, which is 56.25. Again, the value of our variance is 56.25. We have now calculated the expected value of Angela's gains, which is the mean of our probability distribution, and the variance of Angela's gains. That is how we find the mean and variance of gains.